The blouse looked perfectly elegant on the hanger. Soft blue fabric, delicate buttons, and a graceful shape that seemed ideal for a lunch with friends. But when the woman stepped in front of my fitting room mirror, the garment changed completely. The sleeves swallowed her wrists, the shoulder seams dropped too far down her arms, and the long, straight hem seemed to erase several inches from her legs. She looked at me and said, "Maybe I'm simply too short to wear this style." I asked her to wait. I opened the top two buttons, rolled the sleeves just below her elbows, and tucked a small section of fabric into the front of her trousers. In less than a minute, she looked taller, lighter, and far more polished. Nothing about her body had changed. The blouse had simply stopped working against her proportions. My name is Margaret Hale. I am 68 years old, and I spent more than 30 years fitting, altering, and redesigning women's clothing in a small tailoring studio outside Philadelphia. Today, I teach wardrobe workshops for women who want to understand why certain garments flatter them, while others seem to overwhelm them. One lesson has remained true throughout my career. When clothing looks wrong, women often blame themselves first. They believe they are too short, too round, too old, or simply not stylish enough. But ready-to-wear clothing is designed around standardized measurements. Those measurements do not account for every shoulder width, arm length, torso length, waist position, or change in posture. For women under about 5'4", especially after 60, a blouse may be only 1 or 2 inches too long in several places. That does not sound significant, but those small differences can completely change the visual balance of an outfit. Today, I want to show you 7 practical blouse adjustments that can create a longer, more balanced silhouette without requiring an entirely new wardrobe. Most of them can be tested tonight using clothes you already own. And the first place to look is not your waist or hips. It is the small area directly beneath your face. A few years ago, a woman named Helen brought 3 blouses to one of my workshops. She was 5'2" and had recently retired from teaching. She wanted to look modern but kept feeling as though her clothes made her appear heavier and more tired. The first blouse had a high round neckline. The second had a stiff collar buttoned all the way to the top. The third had a modest V-shaped opening. When she wore the first 2, the fabric filled nearly all the space between her chin and chest. Her neck looked shorter, and her upper body appeared compressed. The V-neck created an entirely different effect. Her face looked more open, her neck appeared longer, and the eye traveled downward instead of stopping at a horizontal line. That is the first principle. Create a little vertical space at the neckline. This does not mean wearing anything low or revealing. A shallow V-neck, a soft wrap blouse, a split neckline, or a button front shirt opened by 1 or 2 buttons can be enough. Stand in front of a full-length mirror and button your blouse all the way up. Notice where your eye stops. Then open the neckline slightly and step back again. In many cases, the difference appears within seconds. An open neckline allows light around the face and collarbone. It also creates a vertical direction that helps the upper body look less boxed in. But before you try this, there is one detail to remember. The neckline should still look controlled. If the collar collapses or spreads awkwardly, use a camisole, a tiny piece of fashion tape, or a quick press with an iron. The goal is a clean opening, not an untidy one. Once the neckline is balanced, look at the sleeves. Standard blouse sleeves are frequently too long on petite women. They may cover part of the hand, gather heavily at the wrist, or create several unnecessary folds along the forearm. That excess fabric pulls the eye downward. It can make the arms appear shorter and the entire blouse feel heavier. The easiest solution is to reveal the wrist and part of the forearm. The wrist is usually one of the narrowest areas of the body. When it is visible, it breaks up a large block of fabric and adds a sense of lightness. You can do this by choosing 3/4 length sleeves, folding a cuff once or twice, or gently pushing a soft sleeve toward the elbow. Avoid creating a thick roll, because too much fabric gathered in one place can add bulk. Try a simple comparison. Leave one sleeve at full length and adjust the other. Then hold both arms naturally at your sides. The shortened sleeve will often look more intentional. It also creates a natural place for a watch, a narrow bracelet, or a few delicate bangles. The next detail can be the difference between an outfit that looks harmonious and one that enters the room before you do. That detail is pattern scale. There is nothing wrong with a petite woman wearing prints. The mistake is assuming that every print behaves the same way. A blouse covered in very large flowers, bold geometric shapes, or sharp blocks of contrasting color can divide a small frame into several separate sections. Instead of seeing the woman first, the eye jumps from one shape to another. Smaller prints usually create a smoother effect. Fine stripes, delicate florals, subtle dots, soft watercolor patterns, and low-contrast designs allow the eye to move across the garment without constantly stopping. If you love dramatic prints, you do not need to abandon them. Simply look for a version with fewer harsh contrasts or more open background space. You can also keep the rest of the outfit quiet so the pattern has room to work. Color pairing matters here as well. When your blouse and trousers belong to a similar color family, they can form one continuous visual column. Navy with deep blue, cream with beige, soft gray with charcoal, or muted green with olive can create length without requiring an exact match. A sharp color break at the waist may visually divide the body in half. A gentler transition allows the eye to travel from shoulder to ankle more smoothly. This does not mean wearing one color every day. It means understanding where contrast is helping you and where it may be shortening the silhouette. Now we come to the question that causes more frustration than almost any other. What should you do with the bottom of the blouse? Leaving a long blouse completely untucked can hide the waist and shorten the visible leg line. But a full tuck may feel uncomfortable or draw more attention to the stomach than you prefer. The useful middle ground is a partial front tuck. Take a small section of fabric at the center front and place only that part inside your waistband. Leave the sides and back loose. By exposing a small portion of the waistband, you show the eye where your legs begin. This can make them appear longer. Meanwhile, the loose sides continue to skim the hips and midsection. The real mistake is using too much fabric. You do not need to tuck in half the blouse. Begin with a section only a few inches wide. Keep it relaxed rather than pulling it tightly across the stomach. One of my former clients, Linda, wore a long linen shirt over straight trousers almost every day. She liked the comfort, but the shirt formed a large rectangle from her shoulders to her thighs. We opened the collar, rolled the sleeves, and tucked only the center front. The change was immediate. Her legs looked longer, and the shirt finally appeared deliberately styled rather than simply oversized. But what happened afterward surprised even me. Linda stopped pulling at the front of the shirt. She stood straighter because she no longer felt that she needed to hide behind it. That is what these techniques should accomplish. They are not meant to disguise you. They are meant to help the clothing support you. A partial tuck works best with soft blouses, casual shirts, lightweight sweaters, and fabrics that do not become bulky inside the waistband. If you dislike tucking anything, that is perfectly reasonable. But then you must pay close attention to the hemline. A stiff blouse with a straight hem that cuts across the widest part of the hips creates a strong horizontal line. On a petite frame, that line can make the legs appear shorter and the body look wider. A gently curved hem is often more flattering. Look for a blouse that rises slightly at the sides and dips softly at the front or back. This breaks the straight horizontal line and reveals a little more of the leg from the side. You can test the effect without buying anything. Put on a straight hem blouse and photograph yourself from the front. Then lift the fabric slightly at each side with your fingers, creating the shape of a curved hem. Take another picture. In the second photograph, the blouse may look lighter because the hem no longer forms one hard boundary across the hips. Curved hems work particularly well on casual tunics, soft cotton shirts, and lightweight linen blends. Avoid extremely dramatic high-low designs unless you genuinely enjoy them. A subtle curve is usually easier to wear and less likely to overwhelm a petite frame. The next principle is easy to overlook because it involves details that seem decorative rather than structural. But in clothing, every detail has scale. Large collars, oversized chest pockets, thick cuffs, enormous bows, stiff ruffles, and heavy buttons can dominate a smaller frame. Even if the blouse technically fits, these features may make it look as though the garment is wearing the woman. I once compared two black blouses for a client who could not understand why one looked elegant and the other looked awkward. The first had a narrow collar, small buttons, and a slim button placket. The second had wide cuffs, two large pockets, and a dramatic bow at the neckline. The color and size were almost identical. The difference was proportion. Smaller, cleaner details usually integrate more naturally into a petite silhouette. Look for narrow collars, subtle buttons, fine pleats, delicate gathers, and pockets that do not cover a large part of the chest. This does not mean everything must be plain. Romantic or decorative details can look beautiful. They simply work best when their scale relates to the person wearing them. Place a blouse on a bed and examine it from several feet away. What do you notice first? Is it the collar, the pockets, the ruffles, or the overall shape? When you wear the blouse, attention should return naturally to your face. If one decorative feature dominates the entire outfit, it may be too large or too visually heavy. Now we reach the seventh principle, and this one affects how every other adjustment performs. It is fabric weight. You may find the perfect neckline, sleeve length, hem, and pattern, but if the fabric is too stiff, the blouse can still create unnecessary width. Heavy denim, thick starched cotton, rigid poplin, and some synthetic fabrics tend to stand away from the body. On a petite frame, this can create a box-like or tented shape. Softer fabrics move downward and follow the body more naturally. Silk, rayon, viscose, lightweight crepe, soft cotton blends, and washed linen blends can create a smoother vertical line. The goal is not to choose the thinnest fabric possible. Material that is too flimsy may cling rather than skim. You want enough softness to drape and enough substance to keep its shape. Here is a test I have used for years. Place part of the blouse over the back of your hand and allow it to fall across your knuckles. If it forms soft folds and moves easily when you turn your hand, it will probably drape well on the body. If it remains stiff, sticks outward, or forms sharp angles, it may add bulk. Then gently squeeze a small section and release it. Some fabrics remain badly creased, which means they may require frequent ironing or steaming. Also hold pale fabric toward the light to check whether it becomes transparent. The next time you try on a blouse, follow the same order every time. Start with the neckline. Ask whether it opens the area around your face or closes it in. Check where the shoulder seams sit. Unless the blouse is intentionally designed with dropped shoulders, the seam should generally remain near the natural edge of your shoulder. Look at the sleeve length and reveal the wrist if the fabric feels heavy. Step back and judge the scale of the print and decorative details. Compare the blouse untucked, partially tucked, and fully untucked with a slightly lifted side hem. Then examine the fabric while moving. Sit down, raise your arms, turn sideways, and walk toward the mirror. Clothing must work on a moving body, not only when you stand perfectly still. There are also several mistakes worth avoiding. Do not automatically buy a larger size simply because you want comfort. A larger blouse may bring wider shoulders, lower armholes, longer sleeves, and a longer hem. Those changes can make the garment less comfortable because you spend the day adjusting it. Do not assume that every item labeled petite will fit correctly. Brands use different measurements, so always judge the garment itself. Do not hide every part of your body at the same time. A high neckline, long sleeves, loose trousers, long blouse, and heavy shoes can create one uninterrupted block. If you prefer a relaxed blouse, balance it by revealing the wrist, opening the neckline, or creating a clearer leg line. Do not treat these ideas as strict rules. A woman with a confident personal style may look wonderful in a large print or dramatic collar. These principles are simply tools to help you understand why an outfit behaves the way it does. And do not keep a blouse only because it was expensive. If it never feels right and requires several major alterations, it may not deserve space in your wardrobe. Tonight, choose 3 blouses from your closet. Pick one you love, one that never seems quite right, and one you rarely wear. Open the neckline slightly, adjust the sleeves, try a small front tuck. Pair each blouse with trousers in a related color. Examine the hem and decorative details. Then photograph every version from the front and side. The camera often reveals proportions more clearly than a mirror because it allows you to compare 2 versions directly. Begin with free adjustments before paying for alterations. Rolling sleeves, changing the neckline, altering the tuck, or pairing the blouse with a different color may solve the problem immediately. Consider a tailor when a valuable blouse needs simple sleeve shortening, hemming, or another practical adjustment. Ask for an estimate before approving complicated work involving shoulders, armholes, cuffs, or collars, because the cost may vary significantly. and keep your expectations realistic. These techniques will not change your physical height, nor should that be the goal. They can reduce visual interruptions, create better balance, and stop unnecessary fabric from overwhelming your frame. After decades of fitting women, I have learned that confidence often returns through very small changes. A wrist finally visible, a collar opened by an inch, a hem that no longer cuts across the hips, or a fabric that moves instead of standing stiffly around the body. Your body was never the mistake. The blouse was simply designed for a different set of proportions. Once you know what to check, you can decide whether to adjust it, alter it, style it differently, or leave it behind. Which blouse problem frustrates you most? Sleeves that are too long, difficult necklines, boxy hems, or fabrics that add too much bulk? Share your answer in the comments. Subscribe for more practical style guidance for women over 60. In the next video, we will examine the trouser length mistake that can shorten a petite silhouette even when the blouse fits perfectly.